660 AM. The Answer.
Welcome back to Ladies Can We Talk with Debbie Georgatos. The second hour roundtable starts now.
Hello there. Welcome back to Ladies Can We Talk. This is our second hour roundtable. I'm Debbie Georgatos. I have my buddies Jenny McGarry and Carrie Kellerman here. Hi, ladies.
Hi, Debbie.
And we have on the phone Nonie Darwish, and I'm going to tell you more about her in a second, but I want to say hello. Hi there, Nonie.
Hi, Debbie. My pleasure.
I'm so glad you're here. You know, I will tell our listeners very quickly, Nonie was speaking in Fort Worth a few weeks ago at an event put together by the Claire Booth Luce Policy Institute, which is a great organization. And I just had the great privilege to meet her and end up sitting next to her at lunch. And I've been a fan for years. Nonie is the author of 3 books. And Now They Call Me Infidel in 2006, Cruel and Usual Punishment, 2008, and The Devil We Don't Know, 2012. I know there are subtitles, but I'm just running through those titles. So, Nonie, welcome. And I want to just jump right in, and then my lady friends here may also do that. But I just want to start with this question. Nonie grew up in Egypt in Islam and is now American and is Christian. I think it's very hard for the American people to get their arms around what Islam is. And certainly before 9/11, we didn't really have many Americans that have any contact with Islam. So President Bush set a tone in America when he said, right after 9/11, well, Islam is a religion of peace. And so you grew up in Egypt, you've studied Islam, you have a great life story to tell, you may feel free to tell it. But was President Bush, was he right or wrong, and how much harm did that statement do?
I think he was trying to be political or polite, but if he learned anything from history, wherever Islam goes, peace is never there. Peace has never been established wherever Islam goes, because under Islamic law, the Islamic law is encourages violence. Actually, it approves beating of wives. It's not just against non-Muslims. There is a lot of chaos in Islamic society, and it's precisely because of Islam itself. Unfortunately, the American people judge any religion as something that seeks peace because they judge it from their own perspective, because their own religions here advocate peace. They go by the Bible, and the Bible, the Christ was called the Prince of Peace. So they believe that any ideology calling itself religion, then it must be for peace. And I think President Bush probably believed that early on. I don't think he believes that now. I hope he doesn't believe that now.
I would hope so too, yes. I want to ask you, your book, The Devil We Don't Know, it raised, as I was reading through that, I actually have it open in front of me, highlighted. I've thought this quite often because people in America will read about how women are treated in Islam. And in American culture, even though we didn't have equality from the moment America, came on the scene, we had to work to get women's rights and women's right to vote and equality. But the whole premise of our culture, especially today, we assume the rights of men and women are equal. And yes, I think we assume that probably is true everywhere, or that the world's coming around to that. But in Islam, I would love to have you talk about what is the difference between American culture and how in Egypt or other countries where Islam is predominant, what is the role of women radically different?
Absolutely. It's, all humans are not all equal under Islamic law. It's clearly in the legal system. In our legal system in America, whether it's before the women's movement or after, all humans are equal under our Constitution. There might be some cultural prejudices, but the legal system in America protects everybody as equal. Under Islamic law, your rights are decided by if you're a man or a woman. You live under a completely different legal system if you're a woman. For instance, if you go to court and you're a witness. If you're a woman, your testimony in court is half the value of a man. So if a woman goes in a case against a man, guess who wins legally?
Yeah.
It's always the man, because in the legal system, she is regarded as half the value.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
This just occurred to me. If there are two female eyewitnesses against a male, is that one against one?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's
So
just
it's one against
astonishing,
one.
though. Oh.
So it becomes who the judge will believe. If it's two women against a man, it's almost like one. So this is the legal system. See, Debbie, the bottom line of any society, because there's good and bad people in every society, the bottom line of every society is its legal system. This is where the tire hits the road. This is where my rights come from as a human being. And in the Middle East, a woman never files a lawsuit against a man because she always loses. So
Oh, my gosh.
she has to always compromise. And I'm not talking about beating a woman is legal. Honor killing is legal under Islamic, because there is a law clear that states that parents and grandparents of offspring will never be prosecuted for killing them. This is a clear-cut law. And it's written in the books. And those books are sold in America as holy books in America.
Are you talking about are you talking about in the Quran or in other writings?
No,
related?
that's the Islamic law that everybody is scared to insult or to stand against. And do you know that these laws that I'm quoting you are in mainstream Sharia books that are sold in America? And when I speak and say that America should reject Sharia law by name, Muslims call me Islamophobe.
Oh, okay. We've had this conversation on this show before. It's only a phobia. I mean, the whole notion of Islamophobia is so absurd because it's only a phobia if you have no reason to be frightened of it. Honestly, if you knew what Islam teaches, you should be afraid of it.
I mean, you should be scared. I am another reason for me specifically that should make me really reject and fear Islam is I left Islam, and in the legal system of Islam, in all the Sharia laws, whether it's Shiite or Sunni, doesn't matter. If you leave Islam, you must be killed. You must be killed. And the legal system is all for that. Not only will you be killed by the state, but anybody on the street, if they kill you, they will not be prosecuted. You are immune from being... Yeah, so I am not scared only of going to Egypt to visit. I'm not only afraid of the government and the police to arrest me because I left Islam and became Christian. I'm scared of anybody on the street killing me, and then the police, you know what they'll do? My family will probably go to the American embassy. Oh, my mom was killed in Egypt on her visit. They'll tell her, the police will tell the American embassy, we don't know who killed her on the street.
Oh, gosh.
That's how they get away with honor killing.
Nonie, I wanted to ask you, do you have any kind of fear being in America? Do you feel safe as a woman here, speaking out the way you do and being a public figure?
Much safer than in the Middle East. I probably would not have done what I'm doing if I was living in the Middle East, because that would be a death sentence before I open my mouth.
Yeah. I want to ask you.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of this has to do with the treatment of women. Tell me how this is coming across with the next generation, how the boys are learning this. How is this playing in with women, especially now that they're growing up in the age of the internet? How is it affecting how they're seeing their own culture?
Well, in the Middle East, when boys are growing up, they are encouraged to disrespect women who are not covered, who are not covering their heads. Wow. So that's why when a girl is not covered in Egypt, it's not by law. But she doesn't cover her head. They can pull her hair as she's walking. They can touch her because she's asking for it. That's why sexual harassment of women who are not covered in Egypt is very high. And if you're walking without head cover, it's not illegal, but the shaming on the street will just make you want to cover your head just to be left alone.
Does that apply to tourists too?
No, I think tourists they kind of you leave them alone. And my sisters, for instance, in Egypt, don't cover their heads, but because they come from the generation before the 70s that did not cover their head. But this is a new movement now where in some extreme cases, some women, they threw acid on them as they were walking without head cover.
Yeah, so the society is kind of regressing to what it was. Getting worse.
Boys are not taught to respect women who are not covered. And that's why when they go to Europe, it's very well-known fact that the high percentage of rape in Europe is being done by all Muslim men.
Oh, my gosh. Nonie, we're at a point we should take a break. Are you able to hold on during the break and do one more segment?
Sure.
Okay, thanks very much. This is Debbie Georgatos, and I'm here this evening at Leading Ladies with Jenny McGarry and Carrie Kellerman on Ladies Can We Talk on 660 AM The Answer. We're speaking with Nonie Darwish. We have so many more questions. I'm so grateful she can hold on during the break and come back after the break, and we'll keep on talking. We're going to turn and talk a little bit about the situation with refugees in Germany and Merkel and whether them, with respect to refugees coming to America. What should we be saying about that? Come back after our break.
More of Ladies Can We Talk with Debbie Georgatos, right here on 660 AM The Answer.
Hey there, welcome back to Ladies Can We Talk. I hate talking over that great music. I meant to mention to our listeners, and I forgot at the start of our show, that on Twitter, I'm at Debbie Can We Talk. And if you're on Twitter, you can then have a Periscope account. And if you are cool in social media, then you know that Periscope is live. It's kind of like live streaming. So we are on Periscope in this very second hour. We're going to do just a second hour, Ladies Can We Talk, on Periscope. And we're returning to our conversation with Nonie Darwish. Nonie, thanks for holding on during the break.
Oh, you're welcome, ma'am.
Well, we have three people, and we're competing for who gets to go first, but I'm going to jump in, just ask my question, which just is, you may have heard that President Obama and others on the Democrat side of America are urging that America bring, and the numbers keep growing, but 10,000 was one number. Now is talking about by the end of 2017, 100,000 refugees coming to America. They're not all Syrian, although many of them are from Syria, who are victims allegedly, of this huge ongoing battle in the Middle East with ISIS. And there's concern on the right about, who's coming here. So do you have any reaction to President Obama's plan to bring so many of those Syrian and other Middle Eastern refugees to America?
I don't think the West should get any refugees from the Middle East anymore.
Oh, wow.
I think it's a big mistake.
Agreed. Good.
And there is a reason for that. Where are the oil-rich Arab countries who have so much land? Saudi Arabia has 14 million tents, air-conditioned tents near Mecca and Medina that they use once a year for Hajj. That's it. And they stay empty for the whole year. Why don't they? 15 million. They can absorb them, and they certainly have the money, and then they can take them back when the problem is finished. But the West, unfortunately, is caught in a quagmire because they have a culture of shaming. The West has a culture of shaming that you are a racist, you don't want to take the refugees. Everybody in the West is accusing everybody else of being a racist, and the reason they're absorbing all of these refugees is really not. They're not doing Islam a favor. All the men who are leaving, these young men mostly, young
Yes.
men.
Exactly.
All of them, if we absorb them, and these are the ones who can stand up to ISIS, we are actually doing a favor to ISIS. We are absorbing the people who should fight ISIS.
Great point.
So we
That
are
is.
not even, we're not even doing Muslims a favor. We're doing ISIS a favor.
Yeah. Nani, I heard that one of the reasons the migrants are going to non-Muslim countries is part of the plan to invade.
The hijra.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Under Sharia, you are supposed to do jihad if you're a Muslim
Yes.
by any means.
So
It
going
could
to
be
Saudi
by
Arabia wouldn't be part. It wouldn't.
you can't do jihad there.
Okay.
So that's why Saudi Arabia is very happy. They are expanding Islam, which is expanding the influence of Saudi Arabia. The expansion of Islam is equal to the expansion of the influence of Saudi Arabian culture.
Can I ask you one more question about how the Islamic faith views charity from outside the faith? For example, in Calais, France, there's a tent city of migrants that are trying to get through the Eurotunnel into the UK. UK residents heard about this and have sent over, in the form of charity, donated clothes and food, which the migrants have subsequently burned. Can you help me understand the mentality there?
Yeah, well, what happens is you're not dealing with a culture that appreciates the West. So if you try to help them, it's not like thank you, but I can't use what you're giving me because of so and so. No, it's they are offended. This is a culture of people who are constantly offended, constantly want to blame you for everything.
That sounds kind of like ours.
And they want, it's kind of like ours, but in a very pathological way. At least we blame each other here within the culture.
Okay.
But over there, they only can dare blame non-Muslim countries. There is a law against, actually, it's in Islam, against criticizing Islam. So you cannot criticize Islamic governments. You cannot criticize Islamic laws. So the only place you can criticize is outside world.
So they don't even, an act of kindness then, they can't recognize that. They only recognize who the giver is, not the gift?
As a whole, as a culture, they want to put you down. They want to rub the noses of the West in the ground as a culture. That's why when Israel offers to help the Palestinians sometimes, when they left Gaza, they left them a lot of agricultural, equipment and stuff. They all destroyed it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to show that they are benefiting from the infidels. At the individual level, there are many Muslims, I'm sure, who love the West, but that shows you that in the heart of every Muslim is a wish to go live in the Western biblical freedom.
Sure, but they're not going to be able to actually admit to that.
And they don't at the national level. They don't admit it, and if they admit it, they are shamed right away.
So was George W. Bush wrong or right when he said, "In the heart of every human is a desire for freedom"? Was his whole idea about a free Iraq, do you think that was culturally right or wrong?
I think it's a basic idea. We are all born want to be free, but not everybody. I mean, we have in America two systems: one that promotes freedom from government, and have the population reject that. They want to go with a system that government protection. So in the heart of every society, there are people who want to live off of the government and please take care of me, and I can give you all the taxes you want, but please take taxes from other people and take care of me. So this is something in Islam. Islam is the same way. They want to blame the outside world. They want to, but they can't do it for them. They want to live off of the outside world.
That was brilliant, Nani. That was a brilliant analogy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like
the West is allowing them. The West, the sad part about the West is the more they absorb the people who are, at least they are running away from ISIS. You're doing ISIS a favor, because the pressure comes always. The pressure of every country to improve, to self-improve comes from the bottom of the society. It pressures going up to improve the government. Well, you're depriving them of that pressure, and we're doing the same thing with Mexico. We keep saying we keep saying that, we love Mexican immigrants, and anybody who says no, then they are bad. But really, we're not doing Mexico a favor, because the Mexican government does not have any pressure from the bottom up to pressure it to improve and to end the corruption.
So well said.
Well, let me just insert one small thing. I think I understand what you're trying to say about when something comes from the West, that it's immediately burned or destroyed. Part of it, I would think that it is also a part of trying to say we're rejecting that culture. It's not just that we don't want what they're giving to us or it's a pride thing, but it's if we accept it, we're accepting part of that culture being okay. And by destroying it, it's a public statement saying we're rejecting that culture. And anything that culture has to offer, we don't want to. On an individual basis, they may feel differently, but
like I sure wanted that food.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But as in respecting
Friday
their own
prayer. They say that in every Friday prayer.
Sure.
We reject the culture of the West. We want to take over Rome. We want to take over Buckingham Palace and converting it to a mosque. They put pictures of the White House with the black flag of. I mean, they're telling us this in no uncertain terms.
Nonie,
we don't want to hear it.
On a different note, if I could just bring up a current event issue that has occurred, or an event that has occurred, tell me what your thoughts are about the Egyptian plane crash or the Russian plane crash in Egypt.
I have no doubt that it's a bomb. I mean, you are dealing with airports that they have a lot of employees in Egypt, a lot of people standing and acting like they're so busy watching. But really, if you go give 1,000 Egyptian pounds, which translate into a couple of $100 to any of these employees, they'll put a bomb on an airplane, okay? Just try to understand this is a poor country.
Why do you think Russia, though? Why do you think that they would be targeting Russia?
Because Russia entered the war against ISIS in Syria. ISIS is already in the Sinai Desert of Egypt. They are killing a lot of Egyptian military people. Some of the Egyptian military people have already been bribed by ISIS. This is an area of the world where you don't know who your enemy and who your friends are. And if the West doesn't understand that, I don't know what. When are they going to learn? This is a population where you don't know who can be bribed and who cannot be bribed.
Absolutely.
We are speaking with Nonie Darwish, who is the author of 3 books. Her most recent one, The Devil We Don't Know. Nonie, I have to tell you, we don't have time to go into it tonight, but I really want to urge our listeners to go. One thing you answered in there, which I've always thought is, so you look at the Middle East and you look at Islamic countries from the American perspective, and I always think, why don't the women stand up? Look at America. The women stood up. We demanded the right to vote. We demanded the equal rights. We demanded all these laws that made things equal. But in Islamic countries governed by Sharia, they don't have the ability to do that. They can't even speak up because they'd be speaking against Sharia. I'd love to have you say a couple. We're about at the end of this segment, but a couple of minutes on that point. I would just love to hear your thoughts.
Actually, I just wrote a pamphlet that's coming out that is called about Islamic feminism. Islamic feminism is pro-establishment. American feminism was anti-establishment. In Islam, if a woman wants to have respect and prominence and a good position in society, she will defend Sharia. And that's why you find all these Saudi women standing up and telling the West, we like our culture, we like Sharia law, we don't bother us with Western values, we're happy. The minute the Americans leave, then they sit and they're miserable, because the punishment for speaking against Islam is so high, it's your life. And they do it in a way that brothers and fathers can kill you for saying that. So the West doesn't understand how convoluted this system is, that Muslim women in the Middle East are the ones who report on the bad girls who don't cover up.
Oh, I just can hardly stand that because I feel like in America, I feel such a partnership with other women who want to be professional and acceptable and accepted as equal and strive and succeed. And so I'm so sorry with the dynamics of Islam.
Islam succeeded in turning women against each other, and the ones that get hailed on Arab media, and they have their pictures as heroes, are the ones who say, I'm going to give my son to jihad.
Yep, I've seen that. We are speaking with Nonie Darwish, and clearly we could talk all evening long, but we're a little bit past our break time. Nonie, thank you so very much for calling in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Anytime.
And I'm going to take up on that anytime. We were talking about that earlier. You are such a great person to know and such a great resource of firsthand knowledge. Nonie's books, again, you can get them all on Amazon, are Now They Call Me Infidel, Cruel and Usual Punishment, and The Devil We Don't Know. That last book from 2012 relates to the Arab Spring. Unbelievably illuminating, eye-opening. So, Nonie, thanks for calling in so very much.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.